Oh, hello, and welcome to Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. Tonight we have the SCP-2401. So, this one was suggested to us by Charcoal Man, because Gamer asked the question a while back, if there were any prominent or any good female monsters or creatures in creepypastas.
Yeah, because generally speaking, it's just spooky dudes.
Yeah, get more diversity in the monster genders. So this was suggested to us. So SCP-2401 is obviously on the SCP Foundation. And as a quick recap, the SCP Foundation is essentially the Men in Black or like Delta Green, like a government agency or a paramilitary government agency that works to search or to secure, contain, and protect both the world and the object and weird reality-breaking anomalies and objects and entities. Like keep them contained from the rest of the world and keep them a secret generally. Mm-hmm. So, and SCP-2401 was written by LurkD on the SCP Foundation. And just as a quick thing, it's basically a colony of bees that specifically colonize into human hosts. And if you're a male, well, you're pretty much dead because the infection or the process leaves for severe infections and you die within days.
I think it's like within...
Is it even within hours?
It's like a couple of weeks.
Oh, in a couple of weeks, yeah. And then the female hosts seem to be more susceptible or more positive results, although they eventually succumb to suicidal tendencies and like bouts of insanity and such. Mm-hmm. So that's basically the creature, and then the containment unit. The whole containment procedure is to keep them contained within a cell, like with a host, and they've had a couple of hosts recently. And they've only had one successful one that's lasted the longest. Mm-hmm. The other one, committed suicide in her cell. Mm-hmm. However, and what it also what the colony does is basically is it 80% or 50%?
50%.
50% of the epidermal extremity of the host is converted into this horrifying honeycomb beehive, essentially. So. Just to kind of get the general notes for what happens in this entry, it talks about the interview event that happened between a Dr. Lamb and Mary, who was what she called herself, the host, mm-hmm. and how that kind of developed in some really weird ways. And then by the end of the interviews and such, there was an event that happened where she went catatonic. And when security detail went in to go check on her, she broke out and attacked and raped Dr. Lamb. Mm-hmm. And then eventually she was contained again, and Dr. Lamb wanted to be moved to a new location and basically mind wiped. Yeah. So he wouldn't remember any of the trauma that happened. And Mary, when put into another interview, was given started talking about Lamb as if they were in a relationship together, even though that was never the case, and reveals that she got what she needed from him, which was basically gene material for a new child or offspring, like another female offspring that will be better for the colony or propagate the colony further. And at that point, the interview is muted, and then the guy tells his buddy, "You're not going to actually tell Dr. Lamb what she was saying. Like, fuck no, you want to just smoke her out or smoke her there for a second? Because that's another procedure they added is to calm down the bees. Much like normal bees, they can be calmed by using pine smoke. And that's basically how the entry kind of comes to an end. Is the end of that interview, that secondary interview. So this one, I do not have any grammar inquisitions. Do you guys have grammar inquisitions?
I do not.
No.
Thought so. I was like, I was going through it and I was like, this isn't bad. Like, it's weird. It's a bureaucratic report. It's almost as if it's been looked over multiple times by editors. But I do have some actual thoughts. And I also have a segment that we have done in the past called The Kitchen, where we try and like see what we can come up with like story-wise or something for this. But I'll go into my actual thoughts first. So starting off with this quote, Level 2 access required document, date 01/04/2015, time 1632. A viable host able to survive the colonization process will be the first step into discovering a way to reverse the process and revert the host back to normalcy. And when I read that, I was just like, that seems oddly optimistic for a case where the entity mutates 30 to 50% of the host's external body into a living beehive.
Doesn't mean it can't be changed back.
My counter to my own comment was, weirder things have happened in the SCP, though. And then my next one is from date 01/08/2015, time 9:44. Both D6780 and D9343 are progressing quickly with SCP-2401 and are in relatively good health. Today, however, D6780 had to be sedated via aerosol before the host caused further self-injury. D9343 has been minimally responsive during this period. I've asked repeatedly for the medical records of both D-class hosts prior to testing. The paperwork seems to be conveniently missing in administration. Ah, yes, the true horror of the SCP Foundation. Bureaucracy.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Also, just for, again, anybody who's listening to this for the first time and listening about SCPs for the first time, D-class individuals are basically the test subjects, and they're usually criminals that no one's going to miss, essentially. Because most of them, the fatality rate for test subjects in the SCP Foundation are pretty high.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a moral quandary with the SCP Foundation and their testings. My next actual thought comes from the quote for Level 3 access required. Incident report. Dr. Lamb was then tackled to the floor outside of the containment and stripped of his clothes by SCP-2401 Alpha. On video, Dr. Lamb was held down on his back with SCP-2401 Alpha atop of him for a period of 90 seconds. From the video's limited vantage point, it was difficult to ascertain what was happening to Dr. Lamb as he showed limited signs of struggle. Again, reading this and came to my thought, it's like, well, based on what was happening earlier, like the scraps of information we got from Mary's dreams regarding him, I figured this outcome was either going to be death or snoo-snoo, or possibly death by snoo-snoo. Also, did anybody else catch the Mary and Dr. Lamb? As in, Mary had a little lamb?
No.
I caught it now.
Yeah.
If that helps.
I mean, yeah. I just, I read it, I was like, wait. I was almost surprised that Mary didn't, start, humming that, or, there wasn't some kind of, note that, she would, that was, a nursery rhyme she was humming or something while she was, after the incident or something.
It's kind of dumb. Now you pointed out.
But it's still funny, though. SCPs likes to blend in, silly with horror. But that's my actual thoughts until we go into the kitchen.
I thought his name was Lamb because he's going to be like a lamb to the slaughter situation.
I mean, that's also
but it's not. Actually, because he's fine.
Yeah, because he eventually, he survives it. He's just horribly traumatized. And
Not anymore. He got neuralized.
Yeah, he got neuralized. He got an injection.
Well, the part that he's traumatized by is the shocking, because she was subdued via taser.
Okay,
he was underneath.
Yeah, but I've heard that tasers don't actually
transfer person
to person.
That's still electricity. It's got to go down.
Maybe, I don't know. I have heard like apparently when you tase somebody, you don't if somebody's hugging that person that's getting tased, they don't get shocked either. It's just the person that's being tased. But it might be different in the case that you're on because electricity goes down, it doesn't go across. So it might be that it because he's on the bottom, it's basically going through him to get to the ground. So I don't know. Listeners, anybody out there, please let us know if that is the case.
Please help us so we don't have to Google this, because that's so much work.
I know, right? It's not like we're going to...
I do have a taser on me. You guys just want to jump on each other. I can just tase my find out.
No, thank you.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It might not really work with him, though.
Yeah, he's a cosmic demon.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, my other note here that you didn't touch on is the guy at the end just smoking her. She wasn't rowdy.
I almost thought it was like the incinerator, just barbecue, get rid of her kind of thing.
Wrong kind of smoke.
Yeah, but there's no... I almost thought that was going to be the case, but it's just smoking her. So basically just smoking her maybe to pacify her more?
Yeah, but she didn't seem that hostile in the interview.
Maybe she was getting a little too excited. I don't know. Yeah, it seemed like she wanted to hit the purge button.
Yeah.
It seemed like more like what that response was going to, but that it's just aerosol, so.
Yeah.
But it also stops there, so who knows what happened after that? Mm-hmm. Maybe they smoked her enough to knock her out so they could do whatever after that point.
Yeah, do some proper tests or deal with her or something like
that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's all I have there. And I have an It story, but it's not really that great.
At least you're honest about it.
It is hard to do It stories with a bureaucratic entry.
Yeah. So we want to do the It story?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
We can always edit it out if it's absolutely terrible.
If it's absolutely terrible.
Or leave it in if it's absolutely terrible.
Yeah. And now, an It story by Mikey, the East Ants for Evil. Take it away.
It has been difficult to requisition female D-class because of their scarcity. It's the only option since SCP-2401 and male D-class hosts cannot coexist without killing the host body. It is, and it is not.
That's it?
Yes.
Yeah, see,
there's one sentence that's just it?
Yep.
Is it dialogue?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's the way the character talks. I honestly, that's...
I think I know exactly what that is, too. It's when Lamb corrected the interviewer.
Because
when he said she is no, it's it.
Yeah, he's trying to disassociate that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. It wasn't that great, like I said.
That's fine. You tried.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Gamer.
All right, I'm here. Well, I got a few notes. One being when it mentions injuries/deaths. 1 minor injury, 2 major injuries. SCP-2401 Alpha suddenly awakened and physically attacked security. Both guards suffered concussions from the altercation. So concussions classified as a major injury here?
Is it 2 major ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
When I heard major injury, I kind of expected something more gory.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
I mean, it's still... concussions can be pretty...
Oh, I know. They got knocked out, but I don't...
Okay, it's a serious concussion. So that they've have permanent brain damage, and they can never be security guards again.
Great, I feel a lot better now, thank you. That's better. It has to be more. It really doesn't.
Yeah, it was like major. Well, the problem is like it's a major injury, but they weren't killed. So like it wasn't like somebody like smashed his brain into the brained him into the wall. And like,
I know. I wasn't expecting being dead because it's major injuries, not major deaths.
And think of all the bee stings.
That's true.
There weren't any.
That's true.
There wasn't a single bee
pandemic.
sting.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It's a creature made entirely of bees.
Well, not entirely made of bees. There's a woman there.
It's
There's a human
bees.
being there that's been
Being.
yes, human being,
Yeah, exactly.
being human.
That's how it is.
God.
Bad. Missed opportunity for any sort of stinging happening. It's weird.
I mean, the creatures were. I see. Like the creature wasn't really. Here's the thing about this monster: it's not really aggressive. It's the bees were excited; they weren't threatened. Like they had the full control of the situation. Like through the deception of like of going into the or like acting like they were like into a coma or something like that.
Yeah, for 3
like they knew
days.
what they were doing. And again, like they've converted the human host to not have to need to eat or drink.
That's true.
Yeah, how did they get knocked out? Did it say?
I think they probably she probably just overpowered them. Like
Shoved them into a wall.
exactly, yeah.
Whiplash situation. Yeah, I guess. Needs to be more bees.
Bees, my God.
But overall, when I read through it, it's like, this is a pretty solid story, I guess. I just kind of wish we found out what happened with Kenny's progeny, as what Mary said.
That could be a later entry for the SCP Foundation.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it would be...
Oh, it'd be like a new entry?
I guess it would be
situation?
SCP-240... Was it 2401? Yeah, 2401 Beta or like Alpha 2 or something like that. Because it would be the second, and it would be the next host.
Yeah, pretty much. I like the classified tags with like different levels of clearance to go into them. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
Will all of them do that?
Yes.
I don't remember them.
It depends on if somebody has decided to actually add like more of a narrative to it, because that's what I like about the SCP Foundation. There is this formal like here's the bestiary of a monster, but then there's actually a story and narrative in a lot of them through these entries and like interviews and stuff like that. So a lot of them do that.
Yeah.
So
it's been so long since I've read one, I didn't remember.
yeah, we need to do a few more. We do actually have. I think Charcoal Man has suggested a few other SCP Foundation stuff.
How many are there?
There's at least 3,000 to 4,000.
Oh, really?
And
That's
there's
pretty
different. There's at least 4 or 5 different. No, there's probably like 5 or 6, maybe 7 plus cannons.
Why?
To the
Slash how?
Well, because SCP Foundation is a growing, large community of writers that all have that have either like taken different like canon, because there's so many people writing different entries and stuff like that some of them take on a different canon than what the last person did. So there's a bunch of different, basically parallel universes of what the SCP Foundation is, or how it operates, or how post-apocalyptic the world is because of these creatures. Like there's one, I was actually considering like us doing a few like starting one of the canons, because there's actually one that's tried to gather up the stories, the actual like stories that people have written in this SCP universe. Basically they've tried to rebuild or resurrect the original canon, like from story entries and stuff that people have done. But then there's like so many of them. Like if you go into the story section, you can actually find like a crap ton of different canons. Some again, like there's one where like Earth becomes completely like inhospitable because of SCPs, and so we go into we go into space.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's space. It's the SCP Foundation in space.
Wait,
and like
they actually have the test subjects in space?
Yeah,
is the planet Earth all
Earth
the test
is
area now?
Earth, yeah, but I think it's a little bit of both. Like it's completely fucked for human civilization. So we moved into the stars, like to moon colonies and stuff like that. But there's still things that are going on down on Earth. Or there's ones where like the Earth itself has been completely like nuked or like wiped out by an SCP, by a post-apocalyptic SCP, and the survivors have like jumped to another dimension or something. Or they're dealing with the post-apocalypse of one of the SCPs that have like rendered Earth like horrible.
So they're that powerful that one of them can entirely
they're-
fuck things up?
Yeah, they're reality-destroying entities. There's there's a couple of them that are like basically world enders. And then there's ones like this. Like if this thing got out and like multiplied, like that could be a horrible threat too. There's different ones that have different there's different threat levels to ones. Like there's ones that are more benign or more or less malevolent than others.
Yeah.
So
like some of them are completely just not.
Yeah, we actually one of the ones I did with Greg from Anime Daydream when he was on the show for an episode. He touched on a stripper bar that you had to. It doesn't show. It only shows up at like a certain time at night, and then you're allowed in. And the exhibitionists on the stage are just really fucked up, but that's it. Like, we're talking raptors in maid outfits. Or...
I've seen that title card.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen that title card. Yeah. That one, like, that's like a really, like... But, like, that's, as far as, like, not... Like threat level, that's a fairly low threat level one. Because it's just a weird fucking... Basically an interdimensional or transdimensional strip club.
That's weird.
Or there's ones like the snail, like the guy who got his mind transferred into a snail,
really?
and has like a vault of like all this crazy shit underneath a house in the UK. I kind of wish I kind of wish there's more of those ones because those ones are kind of like fun, weird. Like, I think the reason
I was Sir Blackwood or something.
Yeah, Sir Blackwood. Yeah.
Are they creepy anymore at that point?
Oh, no. Okay, so here's the thing about the SCP. They range from, like, it's weird fiction, which can be horror, but is sometimes just, like, fun and like, adventurous.
Yeah.
But they're always weird. Like, they're always, like, what the fuck kind of, like, things. But you get a lot of creepy and you get a lot of horror in that, but you also get a lot of fun, like, silly things in that as well, because everybody has different, like, kind of views on horror and stuff like that. So somebody might find... a sentient snail creepier than us.
I suppose. But as long as there's a what the fuck value, then it's allowed.
Yeah.
That's in the prerequisites.
Really, it's just kind of like, the SCP is kind of like the next step in like those weird pulp novels that people used to write in the early like 20s and 30s. Where it was just like, some of them range, it's like sci-fi, fantasy, and horror kind of all mismatched together to create this like weird, wonderful, what the fuck foundation.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would like to look at the different entities that essentially cause the different timelines and different canons.
Yeah, I know there's one. I want to keep saying it's like the Red King or the Crimson King, and he's like the biggest. Like he's been considered the biggest like threat level monster of the SCP Foundation. But I don't know if it's actually called. He's actually called the Crimson King or not.
He's the King in Red.
Basically, yeah. But I'm not sure if I'm getting confused with the Crimson King from Stephen King.
Oh, maybe.
So
maybe it's just the King in Yellow after he goes on a killing spree.
Yeah, he's just blood covered
in red. Yeah. Totally.
But yeah, and also I like the bureaucratic like paperwork. Like we've been recently playing Control on the Xbox One, and that game is straight up SCP Foundation.
It legit is,
like it's. The building you're in, like, is an SCP entry.
Your gun is.
Your gun is. All the objects you find in that place are, and there's paperwork like an SCP entry. Like, it's fantastic. But
what was one of the first ones? It was like a coffee or something, but it said something about it. Like it was a collectible you picked up. It was a coffee.
Oh yeah, coffee cup or something like that.
Yeah, and it was a straight up entry.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
Yeah,
but there's ones like there's a clock.
I think it was a bottle of water. Either way.
Yeah. There's a safe, that, like a bank safe, that, if you anchor yourself to it, you can basically get, like, shield powers, kind of thing. And it's like, it basically, it protects itself. Like, if you try to shoot it, it pulls a bunch of material, like, from the area, including, like, concrete and whatever, and just creates a defensive bubble shield around itself.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah. Or the one that's, the one the first one you get that actually gives you superpowers, is a floppy disk.
Are we talking used to have legit floppy? Or
no, a huge foot-sized floppy disk from the Cold War that was a stolen floppy disk from the Russians that has launch codes. And because it has launch codes in it, the concept of launch codes in it gave this disk telekinetic powers. Because launch. like because you launch.
I
things.
get it.
Like that's they're all like mundane objects that have been given reality bending and shattering abilities.
That's gonna be weird to see like that character's loadout. Like she just like instead of having like a gun and like knives and stuff, she has like a floppy disk
just kind of disintegrate,
and like a
obviously.
flashlight.
or a safe on her back.
Yeah, all these weird
strapped
random things.
I remember I didn't actually read the entry, but there was one for a pink flamingo. I'm sorry, take it, please. We will get this done. I'm sorry, we're off a little bit off topic here.
It's fine.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry. Back to the SCP. Back to your actual thoughts.
Yes.
Do you have anything else?
I think I got one or two more things I wrote down.
Because we haven't got to the kitchen part.
That's true. So, there's some redacted parts in it.
Yeah.
By just some, I mean one. But in a way, I kind of wish there was more. Because even the one part that's redacted, I know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So, why?
Yeah, it's just, they do redacted, like, because...
Well, I think the one thing that was redacted was in a level 1 clearance or whatever. So
No, it was redacted in the main page at the very end.
Yeah.
And it's Dr. Lamb's name.
Yeah.
But you only see
But then
his
you
name
find
under
it-
clearance.
Yeah, exactly. That's the
That's
difference.
true.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
why they do the redacted, because you have to have clearance in order to actually access the other ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I noticed. I remember that too, and I was like, "Why is that one? Why is this redacted? Like, we already got. Oh, that's why, because it's underclassified. Like, we are actually technically getting we by
We have
by
level 3
clicking,
clearance.
We have level 3 clearance. We're fine.
We're badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the way it is.
Yeah. Also, that'd be really a dick move if the SCP Foundation had like all these cool story bits that they had. That you had to log in. And you had to be like a certain class.
You have to read enough of
Like,
them to get your clearance level up.
I like. Bravo on your immersion level.
Yeah,
but
totally.
like, way to gatekeep your fucking stories, guys. But no, they don't do that. They allow you to do it. And just like, just pretend that you have the clearance so because you're obviously like the reader guy. Yeah. Otherwise,
If you want to roleplay that you only have level 2 clearance,
fine,
then you can't read the level 3
yeah,
ones.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, what would be funny is if it just randomly revoked people's clearance so that the link is there. It's like, you don't have clearance. It's like, what? And then you go back to it like a couple days later and it gives you clearance. It's like, huh?
Somebody just goes in, edits edits the entry so that it just says like access denied. Like when you click it, and then like a week later, adds in the full entry again.
It's kind of a dick move.
just to like fuck with people who just like are like browsing the entries.
Yeah, but they also may not go back to something that already said access denied.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So they could be fucking them themselves. But either way. The last note is just about Mary in general. I kind of wish she was described more. Because she's kind of a blank female character. And yet she has so much quote-unquote screen time here.
That is kind of the point of the D class. You're not supposed to get to know them.
But we do.
I mean, yes and no. Like, you're not. They're supposed to be like as nondescript as the government agencies. Like,
Yeah, I guess it is. It is a it's
yeah.
a document. It's not an actual story.
Yeah, it's a story, but it's a different. It's a different narrative than what we're used to.
Yeah.
So would you like to know which 50% of her is covered in hives?
Is it hives?
Yeah, or
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. Like,
honeycomb hives.
it says the description is 50% of her body is hive.
Yeah.
Like, what does that exactly mean? Like, do you
It
see
means-
them moving under her skin,
Have
or are
you
they
not seen
external?
Did you not see the pictures?
I saw one picture.
The photo with like
two
the
pictures.
flesh, like that. I assume like her entire basically her extremities, like maybe like part of her chest or her arm or like neck.
Yeah,
and
it says
face.
under the dermal layer or whatever.
Yeah, the dermal layer is the skin.
Your
So there's
under
a
the
layer of
skin.
skin. But you can still see...
Is that
So,
right?
human skin is transparent, like
Yeah.
is semi-translucent, so we would be able to see honeycomb patterns in our flesh.
I didn't get that.
Okay.
I didn't know. It wasn't super clear. That's my whole point.
Okay. I mean, that's also part of the point of SCPs is that it's supposed to give you just enough information to come up with something in your head.
But it's an
it's
actual
also-
document that's like describing.
Except it's
What
also
this thing
classified
does.
documents.
Yeah, but you have clearance.
Yeah.
I have level 3 clearance. Fuck you. Yeah, and the pictures help, but again, it's like SCP-2401 undergoing pupation while
Occupation, yeah.
while embedded in a female host dermal layer, and it shows a honeycomb thing.
Yeah.
But is that what you see externally, or is that what's happening underneath?
I think the consensus is that there are open pockets, like there are open holes. Because I think it even says because that's like how they if it's a male host, there's a huge like for some reason they don't heal like any of the infection vectors and stuff like that. So they're basically all these like wounds and stuff that the person has suddenly are just exposed to the open air without that special solution that bees give off to protect them to protect their hives and stuff like that. Because it says in there too, use the pupation, which actually is a saliva like substance of nectar and stuff like that helps protect against infection.
And the two pictures if the bottom one is meant to be that's what it looks like on the outside, it's very different from the front because the front looks like the first one looks like it's a hole.
That's the male version.
Okay,
that's what happens to male. That's the
where they just dig a hole.
Yeah,
and in some cases, basically, a lot of SCPs end up that somebody saw a cool, creepy image of something online or that they found, and. So sometimes we don't have a full image of the creature. We don't want it. They don't want you to see the full image of the creature because that's the vector. But I'm
assuming the first image was edited for this.
Oh, obviously, yeah. Actually, the one might be actually an actual image of a wound that somebody has. A lot of images from SCP are literally just random internet photos.
Yeah. Because
makes a story around.
Because there's a big zit right next to it. I'm assuming it's a massive zit.
Yeah.
That they just edit out and put bees in it.
Yeah, for sure.
But it works well, and it's disgusting. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that. But yeah. So if it's like that with the guys where there's just occasional holes, I guess, but when it's in a woman and it's actually doing fine, then it's honeycombing over everywhere?
Yeah, probably the holes have been covered up by that special resin that basically is a new type of skin or kind of an extra coat of something.
The hole is the hole just an entry point, and then after that point, it just starts building underneath, kind of deal. Okay.
If you ever go on our Discord, Charcoal Man has actually drawn up this character.
Oh, great!
Yeah, it's horrifying.
Excellent.
He does actually. If you go onto his DeviantArt account, he draws a lot of SCP entries, creatures, to give it his own interpretation of the visual. Mm-hmm. Cool. And some of them are terrifying. He is. Won the award for actually giving me a little bit for making me jump from a photo that he posted on our Discord channel.
Oh, nice!
I was like, duh.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Yeah.
I'm assuming at the joints and shit, there probably isn't any hives because that'd be squishing the honeycombs, right? Yeah. So it'd be on sections that don't move.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And probably the chest area or around there.
Yeah, but just any joints, probably not, but everywhere else.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a better visual of it now, at least. If you're talking about it.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. But that's about the end of my notes.
Okay. Then I guess onto the kitchen, where we try and come up with some story ideas, or some brainstorming of some story fodder for this based off this entry. Because while this does have kind of a narrative to it, it would be cool to have this creature see how you could use this creature outside of the bureaucratic reports. So my first kind of thing for it, I could see it being used either in a story or a game scenario, like a horror game scenario, on two ends, with the idea that these creatures using us as mobile hives, they're definitely a good threat level for a story or a Delta Green game or whatever horror investigation game system you use, where these things are out in the wild. They're not contained by the SCP Foundation, and they're just they're just basically infecting humans and making mobile hives to spread out and farther and farther spread. Kind of an invasion force kind of thing. Alternatively, from the side of the host creature, making them more sympathetic, either as a ruse or staying true to it. The creatures seem to want to merely continue and thrive, doing what it has to, and how through its alien intelligence, because it's an insect, so they don't think like us. Mm-hmm. They all think about it's an insect thought pattern, different from male or mammal thought pattern, and they're a hive mind. Mm-hmm. So it's working for the cause, not in the individual.
Yeah.
So with that kind of, and really just with the host sort of along for the ride, because what else are they going to do? die.
Pretty much, yeah.
So maybe explore more of their psyche in the story, like maybe and like their relationship with the hive, like show that metamorphosis of like the human mind communicating with the hive.
By the end of it almost seemed like there was really no human anymore.
Yeah,
it was just the bees talking, or she was being puppeted.
Yeah, or that she was kind of like in almost like a delusional state, because they do kind of inject like endorphins and stuff like that to make them more placid. And again, she was a special case because all the other ones, even the ones that like last longer, they succumb to basically like they reject the parasite mentally and basically lose sand checks. Where she either lost all her sand checks and like is now a cultist, or she just kept her sand checks and now is hardened against the helplessness of the insect hive. The actions it does toward this end are a bit gross. But honestly, horror genre has utilized this idea for graphic horror continuously. I'm looking at You, Species, and Bite, among other horror films that I've watched recently. Species being like an alien human hybrid that like seeks to reproduce, and then Bite is legitimately a movie where a woman goes down to South America, gets bitten by a special insect, and as a result starts mutating into an insect-human hybrid and starts producing eggs and stuff.
Wasn't that one where the dude gave us a barf bag with when you bought it?
Yep.
Did you use the barf bag?
Nope. That was good.
Okay.
I've also not seen it yet.
Oh, that's why. That's why you're good.
I still need to see it, but I've read like the synopsis stuff for it. Yeah, so it's an aspect of horror it is an aspect in horror to disturb us and explore uncomfortable themes. So I'm totally okay with like how like even though like it is kind of icky and skeevy like what they do like to other people, like again like by the end of this entry, like the like how she rapes Dr. Lamb.
Yeah.
It is uncomfortable, but it is an aspect of horror to make you uncomfortable. To watch these things. I was also kind of pleasantly happy that it was on the other way around, because if you're gonna like just because like most of the times it's the other side.
Nebraska.
Yes. I agree. Yes. Yeah. I'm not gonna go any more into that.
Yeah.
Anyway, aside from that, also the idea of a buddy horror comes to mind.
Oh yeah, it's totally a buddy horror.
Yeah. So it's like. Again, like trying to like you can either have this be like a threat level of like the creatures are spreading or trying to spread out in the wild, or you could have it be where the creatures are a little bit more sympathetic and like we kind of care a little bit more about the host or the creatures or both.
Sure, turning
because they're not really threatening. Like they've not killed anybody outside of the host.
They've killed a lot of people.
Yeah, but not intentionally, because it's. Like there's some kind of
they fed off the dudes until they die.
That's an incompatible, like biologically incompatible scenario. Like they don't like.
You're taking the side of the bees a lot here.
Yeah.
You have a little bit of a bias, Mr. Beeman. Yeah, a little bit of a bias.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like that's a thing nowadays. Like to make sympathetic monsters. So.
Could just turn her into a superhero. Be like a
really good
situation with like symbiotic relationship, just helping each other.
Yeah, like that's basically Venom.
Yeah, it is.
So, yeah, that's my ideas for the kitchen. Mikey, what do you get?
Well, I'm just trying to think how this creature would exist in the wild before human involvement.
Maybe it was
it's feeding on animals.
Yeah, maybe it was like a little lower down the evolutionary chain first. Like kind of how people are scared that like that fungus that gets into insects is going to bump up the food chain at some point.
What's it called?
Cordyceps.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just envisioning a bear that's infected. So he's got a perpetual source of honey.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's very true.
Also, I'm thinking of dogs, like wolves and some of that, because dogs, like guard dogs, that shoot bees out of their mouths.
Oh my god, that's excellent.
Oh, so that'd be very
But they clearly
horrifying
don't
seeing
shoot bees, because we read the entry. There's no bee shooting.
this- Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, they don't have, like, I mean...
They're bee-powered.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, that would just be horrifying to see, like, a bear or a bee. It'd be like seeing a dire bear or bee, like, from, like, the bestiaries of, like, D&D and stuff, where, like, they have, like, that weird, like, carapace, like, kind of, like, armor on the... like, external armor. It's just made of honeycombs, though.
Yeah.
Or, I guess, like, in the... I'll also, like, reference cordyceps virus zombies. The clickers from Last of Us, like, I kind of see that as, like, being, like, if it's not as structured or it's, like, not as, like, controlled, it's just these, like, people with, like, hives, actual, like, beehives growing, like, in weird ways out of their body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're called buzzers.
Yeah. Buzzes. Yeah.
And when people attack them, they get into like a battle pose and go, "Hurrah!" And they shoot out millions of bees like anime missiles.
Yes,
that come in and go.
Yeah. That's how they infect their next host.
Yeah, totally.
Totally. Like, you know that you'd be like, like scared shitless as a character in a Delta Green game where that was happening.
Someone was shooting bees at me? Yeah.
After you rolled sand.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So, just trying to think of how it would exist in the wild.
Yes.
Because, I mean...
It's straight up just bees, like, moving up the food chain and becoming a predator.
Or, and even if you want to go even further, like, why haven't we discovered these things before? We still haven't found, like, all the wildlife that's in, like, the rainforest and, like, other, like, wilderness parts. So, like, what if this is just something that's come out of, like, the wilderness?
The rainforest that's on fire.
Exactly. Like you could tie it into that. Like somebody like down there on like as part of like the relief effort, and that like, for either the story or for the game scenario, and then like they start finding like seeing some people like coming out of the woods that are like part like honeycomb thing, and you find it's actually just like this isolated tribe, because there's tons of those still out there, that have been infested with the hive colonies. That's actually fairly workable.
Like they've straight up like cut holes in people and poured bees in them, and then over like generations, these bees have become like hungry for human flesh. Or
maybe it was always that way. Like maybe like that's just like how they've developed. Like that bee colony or that bee species has developed to. Basically symbiotically live in other species for mobility, and so rather than building a stationary hive, they build it off of a mobile unit. And again, it started off with like maybe like an animal, and then when humans showed up into the into history, they just switched to the food. They switched up the food chain.
Yeah,
yeah, it works.
It's pretty apt that I read this now. Because, like, I've been playing Earth Defense Force 2025 a lot, and there's giant wasps that attack you, like, giant horde of them. And then I read this, I'm like, oh, God, I'm getting PTSD here.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. Human hives and giant wasps.
Oh, like, reverse situation? Like, they absorb a human into themselves. Yeah, sure, why not?
Surprisingly plausible.
Surprisingly.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so I don't have much else to think about this.
That's fair. I mean, you have provided some, like, we've had a discussion about, like, how you could add it onto it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you did your part.
Yeah.
I have nothing. No, I mean, I didn't write down anything because I figured I would just come up with stuff on the fly.
That's fair.
But, yeah, one way that I wish that this would continue is with what's going to happen with her offspring.
Yeah.
If it's going to come out as a human or not.
Yeah, if it comes out,
I don't think it's gonna.
If it comes out pre-hive, like, already, like, hived up.
Probably.
And maybe a little bit more insectoid as well. Like, who knows, like, how far the mutation goes.
Yeah. Because it could literally go anywhere. Or it could just come out as a straight-up human.
But then they just...
But it's... Because it's been born with the hive in it, it's, like, extremely, like, good to go for taking the bee hive situation.
And maybe I was thinking, like, basically we lose Mary as soon as, like, the baby's born, like, basically they switch over and she just dies. Mm-hmm. But what if it's basically, like that doesn't make any sense, like, from an animal, like, thriving, like, colony, like, thing. Usually what happens is the queen bee in the colony will have a daughter, that will be the new queen for a new colony. So basically, that's what's going to happen.
There'll be a second colony.
Yeah, and this one, the human host, is much more viable because they found a human host that will survive and is easily manipulated by the colony. So now they just basically they can maybe even like genetically program in the new host to be even more pliable and more adaptive. And so basically that's how it'll spread or how it'll duplicate.
She has like bee wings and fly around.
I don't think that. I wasn't going that way. I was just saying maybe coming out with like naturally occurring like honeycomb units and stuff in her body.
Yeah. Essentially her purpose is to
be the hive.
Procreate more and more, and then everyone in the world are bees.
Bees, my god.
Millions of them.
So really, like if this wasn't under control from the SCP, this could be a terrifying. This could be a larger threat level.
Yeah, it's not a threat level to the level of zombies.
Yeah,
because that could escalate very quickly.
This requires a little bit more wait time.
A lot of wait time, actually.
Yeah,
but over time, yes, it could get pretty bad.
Yeah.
Although, from the sounds of it, considering they have world-ending entities, this is probably pretty low on their threats.
Probably, what is it classified under? A Keter class?
I don't know.
Just check that.
Euclid.
Euclid? Okay, so it's not generally a bad one. Was it 2401?
Yep.
So a Euclid class SCP entity is an SCP object where its behavior cannot be unerringly predicted, either because the item is sentient, it behaves outside the current scientific knowledge, or its nature is simply poorly understood at present. Euclid class objects do not pose the same existential threat to humanity due to containment breaches as Keter class objects. But they still generally require more diligence to keep contained than safe class objects. So they're basically the medium, they're the in-between, because there's too many unknown variables.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. Alright, so nothing else then for the kitchen? We can move on to the final.
Yeah, pretty much the way I thought of it is having it as a straight-up story, not a report.
Yeah.
Where it can just go like day by day through the evolution of this creature in this host and see what happens after the child is born and see where that goes and expand on that, because it did kind of suck having it leave at the end. Like, it's a good ender.
Yeah, and that's...
But it's like, what's that going to mean, though?
I know,
like,
but that is literally like horror 101.
Yeah, I know.
Is to leave you wanting. And also, this could, like you said, like, it could actually be an SCP story as a sequel, like, to the entry. Because, like,
there'll be another entry that is that.
Or not even an entry, just, again, like, there are, like, tales from the SCP, which are, like, more, like, traditional storytelling kind of stories.
I thought you were going to say they're a point-and-click game made by Telltale Games. Tales from the Borderlands. Tales from SCP.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be a type of doll from the Sonic series.
Oh, that's true. That's true, it could be.
I just got done doing those title cards, guys. Please don't bring them back. Horrifying.
Sorry, not sorry.
But yeah, it could be like, story of like this, like a storied sequel to kind of develop that and like show maybe like what the SCP is trying to do. Maybe it's like gotten worse. Maybe it's like more. Maybe it's rising in threat level with the new generation. Yeah,
because I can see it written out. Like, I always mix these two up. Harbinger Experiment or Russian Sleep Experiment. One of those two.
Yeah.
I keep mixing them up. But where it's essentially an entire story written out like a story, but it's showing the entire procedure over weeks and months stuff.
That's both Russian Sleep Experiment and the Harbinger.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's why I mix them up so much, because they are kind of the same...
premise?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Alright, on to final thoughts then?
Yep.
If we don't have anything else to say about SCP. How did you like having the monster be a female monster in this one?
I mean, it made sense because, like, queen bees and all that.
Yeah.
So
it definitely worked out more in like, it made more logical sense for the type of creature that we were dealing with here.
Mm-hmm. I just wonder how many bodies that they went through to get to this point.
I can tell you exactly how many. Redacted!
Yeah, I figured. I need level 4 clearance for that
You
one.
need level 9.
9? Oh, man. I'm going to be reading a lot of stories to get up there.
Yeah. All right.
Do they actually have, like, classification tiers in the SCP kind of world? Or they just do it kind of for flavor text?
They do it for flavor text. Like, they're not actually, like, locked down for, like, readers and stuff.
Oh, I know that they're not locked down, but I'm saying, like, in the SCP Foundation, do they sort of have it written down, like, these are the tiers of access
There
in
is
our corporation?
There is a way to write an entry.
Yeah.
So like, there is a method to it that they follow. They generally follow for the SCP Foundation. So like they do have like kind of a Bible or a kind of writing Bible for like how to do like and a template on how to do it.
Yeah, but they don't straight up say like the level of classification in the SCP Foundation is 1 to 9.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Maybe I haven't gone that deep into it. Like I've perused like a fair amount of the SCP, but I haven't gone I haven't done a full deep dive into the SCP Foundation.
Yeah,
we probably have to get Matt from Trip of the Ugly to do it because he deep dives into like his things he likes looking up. So, all right. So on to final thoughts then. So very effective, creepy body horror in several ways. From the metamorphosis of Mary to her altercation with Dr. Lamb, and the SCP's true intentions or inklings as to its nature. I mean the SCP as in like the entity, not the Foundation. I'm reminded by several horror films that tackle this sort of subject. One of insectile alien infestation on a human host. There's also a Pathfinder horror option where you can play a character who's become infested and mutate or corrupt over the games if you allow it to into an insectile monster like that has more and more like you start developing more insectal traits and like alien traits. Like it's presented in the book more as like a xenomorph essentially. You slowly mutate into a xenomorph, but it's technically an insect creature.
well, so are xenomorphs. They're basically insects too. But would you still have your... Okay, so if you're playing in Pathfinder, and you have a team of other dudes, and you turn into this monster, are you still on their team?
That's the corruption system in this. You can use the GM will ask you because it's a horror thing. It's supposed to be kind of horrifying and like that you're like slowly becoming an NPC monster. But you can while you're if you want to try and balance it, like to have some cool powers before and then try and like heal yourself later. That's kind of the thing. It's like a balancing act for the player. Mm-hmm. Is like, do they want their character to use these cool powers that they've been given, but every time they use it, they become a little bit less human, or a little bit less player character.
And it's one of those things where the more you use it, the more you become a monster, and as soon as you become a monster, you lose the character.
Yeah.
And the GM
unless you find a way
control.
unless you find a way to cure your affliction.
Yeah.
So there, I can see you like using that as like just tweaking it or like flavor texting it slightly different to be like kind of more like this creature or this mobile hive unit. It's not a new idea, but it's still really well done here, especially with the creepy analytical and bureaucratic viewpoint of the Foundation. Like again, it gives you that kind of immersion level with the report.
Yeah.
These
straight up like, this is what happened. Here's the report.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like the horror is still conveyed there. It's just conveyed raw and bare for you to look at. Like this is a transcript of the interview. These are the details from the video feed that we received. The only video feed we received. Stuff like that. Yeah. It can be this one. There's a tinge of uncomfortableness because of like the actions of the monster at the very end.
The R word.
But it's not poorly done. It's even sparingly neat to the matter. So,
except you don't really see anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's very.
And ultimately, that is part of the creepiness of this. Is like what the act that was done and the purpose that was behind that. Mm-hmm. Like that's what adds on to the creepiness and the monstrousness of this creature. Mm-hmm. I recommend both for your reading pleasure and for fodder for a story or a game scenario set in the SCP universe.
Yeah. Is that because bees?
Because there's parallel universes of the SCP.
I thought it was because of bees. And
I mean, that too. But yeah, so that's my final recommendation. I do actually recommend. This is really well done report. So, Mikey, what do you got?
Well, it's interesting to think about a symbiotic relationship with a bee-like creature.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, it was an enjoyable read.
Okay.
So it's a recommendation from me.
Cool. Well,
Gamer.
bees are yellow. Recommendation.
And we're done.
No, but I did like it. It read nicely. Because it's a report, it, like you said, it does give you that immersion, and it says enough that it's believable.
Yeah.
As weird as that sounds. Mm-hmm. And although I said I do wish it was described a little bit better, but after we talked about it and I understand more of what she would actually look like and the infestation on her, then yeah, it's great. I like it.
All right.
This went well.
Hopefully we can find some more SCPs that are on par with this one.
I do hope there's another SCP of the child.
I'll look into it because I think what's his name? Lord? Did I call him Lordy G or something like that? Lordy G, LurkD.
Close enough.
Yeah. LurkD is actually a very prominent SCP writer. Like it seems like they have a lot of
in his repertoire.
content. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. All right. Well, that was this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. Whether it be on Podbean, is what we're hoping for by the time this gets posted.
Hopefully.
And you can also get a hold of us on iTunes. Leave us a rating and review, guys, if you want us to help us grow. Leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you think of our show. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like us to discuss on the show. You can also send us tweets. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow without the W because his name is too goddamn long.
It has to be for the glory of the king.
Yes. And mine is Review Cultist. If you'd like to help support the show financially, you can become a patron. Go to Patreon and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2, $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. Yeah. And to our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you guys immensely. Because seriously, without you, we'd have to fight those dastardly hosting bills ourselves. And that is an SCP entity if ever there was one.
That's true.
And to the authors of these stories and SCP entries and the listeners of our show, thank you just as much, because without either of you, either your listenership or your authorship, we really wouldn't have a show. So thanks. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.